Here she is, the GoPro Hero 10. Are you someone that's just bought a GoPro Hero 9? Well, if so, you can join me in commiserating with the fact that the GoPro Hero 10 came out today. But let's take a look at it and let's have a check of the specs and things like that, see what's new. So if you have just bought a GoPro Hero 9, you can sort of think to yourself, well, you know what I mean? You know what? The 9's fine. The 10, it doesn't really make any difference, does it? Well, yes, that might be true. But let's have a look anyway. It looks pretty sweet. Actually, it looks exactly the same as the Hero 9, apart from these little bits of blue. So this is blue here and here, rather than white, I think, or grey. What colour is it? Grey. A light grey. And I think there are some minor differences to the lens as well, which you probably wouldn't be able to tell from that. Apart from that, it looks exactly the same. It's the same form factor. It fits all the same stuff. It fits the same accessories, the same battery. Different from the 8 and previous, but the same as the 9. So if you have got a 9, happy days. You are still on for using your batteries with this device. New engine, twice the speed. And so what they're talking about there is the GP2 processor. So this is actually the first new processor on a GoPro, from what I can tell, for like 5 years or something. They haven't, I didn't know this until today, they haven't replaced it for the last 5 years. So that is kind of sort of a downside for the 9, I think, because it means that the 9 was doing what it was doing with a really aging processor. So they've now updated it to the GP2. And that has various benefits, which I'll come on to in a second. But one of those benefits, does it actually give you any information on this? Subscribe? No, I don't want to subscribe. Well, is that all it's going to tell us about? Is that all it's going to tell? Can I find out a bit more information about the product on here? Come on. Here we are. So yeah, they talk here about the GP2 processor, and that does enable a better touchscreen performance, it seems. I'm not absolutely sure how that happens. I don't know whether it's a case of they can just sort of sample a touchscreen more frequently, or whether they've just completely redone it or whatever, but apparently the touchscreen is improved on this, and it bloody well needs to be, because the touchscreen on the 9, even after the improvements of the firmware, is just not good enough. It's just clumsy to use. There's like a mute button. When you play back your footage, there's a little sort of mute button on there. And getting it to work and getting it to just do what you want is really hard. So hopefully this will bring good improvements to the touchscreen. What else have we got here? So yeah, it says here, highlights new GP2 processor. They've also, with that change, they've added in a new wired transfer mode. I don't know if that's mentioned here, actually. Look, they make it look so nice, don't they? When they do all these, they just do their product. They zoom in so close to them, and they look so nice. And there's these sort of shots that make you think, oh, I really need to buy this. I really need this. But yeah, so let's just jump onto this one. 5.3K. So no 8K on this, no 6K on this. We are still sticking with 5.3K. But you know what? I think that's absolutely sufficient. I think that's fine. And as I mentioned in one of my videos a couple of weeks back, they have now improved the temporal resolution. So 5K 30p on the Hero 9 is a waste of time. It looks rubbish. It looks anything on an action cam really that isn't 60 frames or upwards or 50 frames or upwards is just a waste of time. So fortunately now you can do 5.3K at 60 frames a second, which is quite good. I mean, they give you this little demonstration here of how much bigger it is than 4K, and that's a lot of space. If they're doing that accurately, and this is just not some marketing bull crap, then that's a lot of pixels, isn't it? A lot of extra pixels there with that 5.3. What's the resolution? 5.312 by 2988. All right. So did they mention so 23 glorious megapixels? It's the same sensor. It's exactly the same sensor as on the Hero 9. Okay, so they're talking about 23 gauge. It's the same thing. But they do say that low light performance has been improved with the Hero 10. And I think the only way that that could have happened is because of software. So they're effectively just processing the image in a better, he says with air quotes, better way. But I'm not convinced of that, because the way you get better noise performance in low light is by having a better sensor, by having a bigger sensor, by having something that can physically capture more light. There are no real shortcuts with this, I'm afraid. Yes, you can probably improve things a little bit, but in reality, my experience is that it's not really the low light that's the problem. Action cameras are not good in low light. You just accept that. I mean, they're not meant to be. It's actually more the stabilization in low light that's the problem, because the stabilization just goes to complete garbage in low light, which is sort of obvious because the shutter speed drops, and you then start having issues whereby you're getting motion blur, but it's being stabilized, and that just makes no sense to the human brain, and it just looks awful, and it doesn't really help compression either. So low light performance, yeah, great if they've improved it a bit, but unless they can get around that problem with the stabilization being rubbish in low light, I don't think it's going to make too much difference. But let's move on to stabilization, because of course they've had a number increment on their HyperSmooth. So they've moved from HyperSmooth 3 to HyperSmooth 4. Of course they have. It's the next camera. They've made massive improvements. But to be fair, they've increased the horizon leveling on this from 27 degrees to 45 degrees. Now, they say 27 degrees, but there are certain resolutions on the Hero 9 that can do 40 degrees. But this one, I'm assuming this in 4K. It doesn't actually say that, does it? I'm going to take a stab and say that they're talking about 4K horizon leveling here from 27 degrees to 45 degrees. And horizon leveling is really cool, actually. I've used it on a bike a number of times recently, and it is pretty nice to use. Totally unnecessary for something like this below, which is kind of weird why they have it on. Oh no, they're just showing HyperSmooth here on this. But yeah, you wouldn't want horizon leveling on something like this, because you'd want to see that horizon move, because it gives a sense of part of the sport, right? But on a bike, it definitely helps and makes for a really, really nice image. Just to sort of tidy up that horizon a little bit. It's amazing, actually. It really is amazing. So the fact they've managed to increase that to 45 degrees, in my opinion, is a real plus. Right, what else do we have here? Subscribe. Yes, of course they want you to subscribe. Everything wants you to subscribe. Here we go. This is what I was mentioning before. If I just zoom in on this, you can see lightning fast wired connection via USB. They've got a little 6 next to it. What does that relate to? Let's have a quick look. Is it down the bottom somewhere? Sorry about this. 6 requires USB-C or USB-C to A adapter, Apple Lightning to USB camera, depending on device. Okay, yeah, so you can now transfer your footage via cable, which is nice because it saves you having to take the card out all the time. So that, to me, is a good thing. What else do we have? Apparently the lens is better. They put anything about that in here? Apparently they've just got some. It's not the lens itself. They haven't. Excuse me. They haven't got they haven't changed the lens at all. They've just changed various bits of glass on the lens to kind of reject water better and things like that, which is good, because obviously, you know, if you can get water to bead better on a lens and get it to just roll off, then that's going to be good. So if they've got some kind of extra coatings to help that, then that would be good. But the only thing I would say with that is that as soon as your lens picks up any kind of grime or anything, then it might impact the effectiveness of that coating. But let's assume that most people probably try and keep their lenses clean, because they probably should. So I'm going to have to move on from this a little bit now. Capture next level time lapse. Yeah, had all that before. All the same. So back to the GP. Oh yeah, so the front LCD on the GoPro 10 is apparently smoother. Yep, that's it, I think. Don't think they've changed the displays at all. They're talking about better a snappy, more responsive rear touchscreen. Yep, so powered because of the GP2 processor, it can drive the 2 displays better. So the front one gets a better refresh rate, basically. I didn't really have a problem with it, so I'm not going to see that. Going from 9 to 10, I'm not going to see that as any kind of big plus, really. It might look nice if I were to actually see it, but yeah, that's just a processing thing. Well done. You've left the same displays on, but you're just processing it as you should have done in the first place, really. All right, what else? Supercharged power tools. Hindsight, got all this. And then they're talking about these webcam and live streaming and stuff, and I'm not interested in that because the experience I had with the 9, I mean, I'm interested. I suppose I am interested to know if it's genuinely been improved, but I would just say don't bother using this camera for any kind of live streaming or webcam usage because it doesn't work. It's buggy, right? It's just get a better camera to do that sort of stuff. If you want to rely on your camera, don't use a camera like this. That was my experience with the 9 and the webcam feature. Maybe they've improved it. I hope so. So we got a few things. Did I have anything else on my list? Webcam live streaming. No, I think that was about it. So GP2 processor, yeah, nice to have the processor. Wire transfer, definitely like that idea, so I don't have to take my card out all the time because transferring stuff over 5 gig is just a joke. Improved low light, probably isn't. Not too bothered about that. HyperSmooth 4, honestly, I have no problem with HyperSmooth 3. I think it's absolutely amazing. But fine, yes, the horizon leveling from 27 to 45, that's a nice increase. And 5K at 5.3K at 60 frames per second and 4K at 120. Yeah, I suppose that's a nice increase. 529. Am I going to buy a Hero 10? Absolutely not. No, I have no reason to buy a Hero 10 at this point. I think for someone with a Hero 9, even though we've got this like double figure, the Hero 10, you'd expect it to be some big improvement. I don't think it is really. There's definitely, they've improved some stuff, but it's just standard incremental improvements. It's a bit like the iPhone 13 really, isn't it? It's not terribly exciting. They haven't made it, just step improvements, standard stuff. Nothing revolutionary and nothing, when they introduced HyperSmooth, it's like, wow, God, look at that. They've really upped the game. They've changed what's the expression? I can't think of the expression. They've really set the bar for stabilization in action cameras. And with this, between the 9 and the 10, I think I'm okay. I'm feeling okay looking at this. I'm not feeling like I've gone, wasted my money buying the Hero 9 4 weeks ago when the Hero 10 was about to come out. Anyway, what do you think? Do you like the product? Do you like the look of it? Is it something that you'll be investing in? Or, are you happy with what you've got? What action camera do you use at the moment? Let me know in the comments. And if you do have any questions, I haven't seen this camera, I haven't got my hands on this camera, and I probably won't for some time. But I thought I would just do a video about it because I was interested in the release. Thanks very much for watching. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.